them against lawsuits. Our on-air editor, Charlie Gaparino, joins us with more on this now. Pretty controversial. A lot of people have been weighing in on this one here.
Yeah, and you know, Bill, the stocks of both those companies got crushed from the moment. I think Bloomberg broke the story yesterday. You know, I couldn't understand why, because I was doing a totally separate rating agency story, and then all of a sudden the stocks start moving. This is a huge story, and I'll tell you why. For years, the rating agencies have been able to sort of hide behind the fact that they're dispensing opinions and that their ratings, you know, they can't really be sued for, you know, bad ratings because it's a First Amendment right. The problem with that notion is that, unlike journalists, we're not nationally recognized journalists, right? The SEC does bestow upon the rating agencies this sort of imprimatur of a nationally recognized rating agency. It's a stamp of approval. Bond deals have to be essentially rated by one of the three. I think there are three nationally recognized rating agencies: Fitch, Moody's, and S&P, and it allows them to maintain a business monopoly. What this ruling says, and we should put up on the screen some of the statements from Moody's and S&P. They'll tell you it's very narrow. They dismiss a lot of the claims, that the claims themselves are baseless, but what that almost doesn't matter. What matters is that the judge basically in this ruling said, you know, Moody's, S&P, you're like stockbrokers. You can't hide behind the First Amendment. And, you know, John Coffey, who I respect, I like, he's really smart. He's a law professor at Columbia, kind of distilled it in the best way to me just a few moments ago. Most professions have lived with the fact that they can be sued for egregiously stupid advice. This is the first big loss for the rating agencies that moves them in this direction. For example, Arthur Andersen, right, out of business now, but accounting firms can be sued for giving stupid advice, right? Stockbrokers, they can be sued for giving stupid advice, for putting people in inappropriate investments. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that professions, investment professionals, can be sued over, can be charged civilly, fraud with by the SEC. And I'll tell you, the rating agencies are moving in that direction. And you know, they should have done this years ago, because I think, you know, one of the things that prevents a lot more egregious actions from occurring in the brokerage business is the fact that these Wall Street firms can be sued. And I think this is opening the agencies up to that direction.
You know, when they put Reg F out there, the idea was to get more companies to provide more guidance to more people at the same time. And what it ended up doing is a lot of companies just pulled in and said, we're not going to provide any guidance because we're going to have to, you know, subscribe to this what they saw to be an onerous regulation.
I know where you're going with this.
Okay, does this put a dampening effect on the ratings agencies to issue some opinions in the future,
Bill,
do you think?
we can only be so lucky if the rating agencies didn't issue more opinions. I mean, listen, my opinion about these guys is that they must have photos of congressmen and regulators in very provocative positions, because I can't understand how they get away with what they get away with.
But
if you look at all that, let me make this point.
A ratings agency makes its money by issuing opinions.
Yeah,
so if
and
they're not issuing opinions, they're not making money.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The problem is this, Bill. If you are a nationally recognized rating agency, they have a monopoly on this business. You can't do a bond deal without having the stamp of approval from Moody's, S&P, or Fitch. If you're going to have that imprimatur, which allows you to make a lot of money, you know, the government is giving you that imprimatur. They're allowing this monopoly to go on. If you do that, you have to ask for some basic level standards, and, you know, you have to be held accountable. Hiding behind the First Amendment with a government imprimatur seems just asinine to me, and that's what this opens them up. They cannot necessarily hide behind that imprimatur. And I'll tell you, Bill, it's not just the last bubble that they missed in a major way. Structured finance. By the way, this ruling is on structured finance. You wouldn't believe the amounts of money Moody's, S&P, and Fitch made from structured finance. They made most of their profits. By the way, they have a conflicted business model to begin with, where the issuers are paying them. And not only that, they'll tell you that their raters are not paid based on how many issues they rate, or you know, by volume of deals. But what they won't answer, what they refuse to answer to this day, is whether they get paid based on their specific raters get paid based on revenues. And from what I understand from people inside the structured finance department, they were paid based on the amount of revenues they generated, which was a disincentive to doing good ratings.
Well, you can be sure they're all scrambling today following that ruling.
Yeah, I'm sure they're sending us all emails right now that Charlie Gaparino is crazy.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie.
Okay, see you later.